Hello and welcome to CVR News Network, and you're watching CVR English News, and I'm Sandeep. External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar articulated the significance of the Global South, describing it as encompassing countries that have experienced colonization, gained independence, or are still in the developmental phase, often characterized as low-income nations. He emphasized that the trust and expectations these countries have in India, carrying three key examples to illustrate this bond. First, during the COVID pandemic, while developed nations were stockpiling vaccines, many countries in the Global South received their first doses from India, highlighting India's commitment to global solidarity. Second, he referenced India's position and actions regarding the Ukraine conflict. Lastly, Dr. Jaishankar discussed the long-standing aspiration of the African Union for a seat at the G20, noting that while previous meetings had promised support, concrete actions were often lacking. He asserted that African nations view India as a country with a conscientious standing, confidence, reinforcing India's role as a reliable partner in the Global South.
There is a, every time I go to the UN, I can see more and more people expressing their frustration. So at some point, it will happen. Now, it's a question of staying power and mobilizing power. And that's really what we are trying to do.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I'll let Geetika take the
Sir,
next
actually, it is really fascinating to see how India is approaching these global situations, because even here at Flame University, we are encouraged to approach these complex situations not in silos, but to actually understand how they actually interact and demonstrate themselves in reality. So I think it's very reassuring and rather encouraging for us to keep at it, because we can see the same principles are being applied even in leadership. So I think that's a really good takeaway for our students. Let's move on to the next question. Maybe we can have someone from the left here.
Good afternoon, sir. It's an honor to be interacting with you today. My question is, do all countries currently see India as the voice of the Global South? And if so, then how can we see India advocating for these countries further?
Okay, we can have a question from the right.
Greetings, sir. It is an absolute honor to stand before you and ask this question. Thank you so much for this opportunity. My question is in line of the vision of many friends, few foes, greater goodwill and more influence, as described in your book, The India Way, which also happens to be one of my favorite books. How can India really leverage its cultural diplomacy to enhance our foreign policy, to strengthen our international ties, and maybe explore and expand our global influence? How do you think we can utilize our cultural diplomacy? Thank you.
And we can have one from the center.
Hello, sir. I'm grateful for this opportunity. My question is in a slightly different light from the others. So we live in a globally connected world, and for those of us who maybe do not have a background in, let's say, international relations, we also play a role in shaping the image of the country through social media platforms, content creation platforms, and all of these technologically enabled sources. So how can we act as responsible citizens, and what's the most crucial thing that we should be keeping in mind when we're involved in these sorts of platforms?
The first question on the voice of the Global South. I think, what do we actually mean by the Global South? We largely mean countries who were colonized, who got their independence, or who are still developing, who would be largely a low-income country. Okay, because we sometimes get into these debates, people ask us, not always in a well-meaning way, okay, define Global South. So the those who are from the global south know they are from the global south because of all these experiences and criteria. Now, do we speak for most of them or all of them? I won't say, I'd be fair. I would say they have a high degree of trust and expectation